Right now, Donald Trump's getting ready to speak at a Wisconsin rally. Earlier today, Trump continued his talk about a rigged election, but he took that one step further this time. He tweeted as follows: "Of course, there is large-scale voter fraud happening on and before Election Day. Why do Republican leaders deny what is going on? So naive." And on Sunday television, top Trump surrogate Newt Gingrich argued in the strongest terms that the election is being rigged by the media. Watch this.
I think that without the unending one-sided assault of the news media, Trump would be beating Hillary by 15 points.
That is a remarkable assertion, unique so far to Mr. Gingrich, but I wouldn't be surprised before too long to hear Mr. Trump say something like that as well. Our nightly political panel is here: Guy Benson, political editor of townhall.com, and Mara Liasson, national political correspondent at National Public Radio. Well, what about this? This is the news of the day. The claims that made over the weekend and again today that this election is being rigged. Newt says it's by the news media. Mr. Trump seems to make a somewhat broader charge. What do you think, Mara?
Well, there are two different charges. One, to say it's rigged by the media. In other words, the deck is so stacked against me, I don't have a chance to win. That's almost a rationale for why he might lose. Saying that the election is rigged by voter fraud in advance of any voting, he seems to know this.
Well, there's been some.
Well, there's been some early voting, that's true. But he's been saying this for quite a while, that the only way he can lose is if the election is stolen from him. That's pretty extraordinary. And that has a lot of Democrats and Republicans worried, because the peaceful transfer of power is a fundamental aspect of our democracy. And is he saying that any result that isn't him winning is illegitimate? And we have now secretaries of state from all around the country saying, no, our processes are fair, they're secure, we have all these built-in safeguards. Sure, some people might try to cheat, but to say that the system is rigged, in other words, that there's some kind of a conspiracy, is not true.
The system isn't rigged, right? There could be voter fraud, and there is voter fraud on a small scale across the country. Democrats often deny this, but it is a fact. But widespread, big-scale voter fraud that could tip a presidential election is an extraordinary claim, and that requires, as someone said, extraordinary evidence, which we don't have.
It's probably worth discussing for a moment here exactly how the polls are operated and who operates them in these neighborhoods and districts all across the country, huge numbers. My understanding is that, there are election officials who see that ballots get distributed and may set up equipment. But these polling places are manned by volunteers, right? Ordinary Americans.
That's right. From both parties.
From both parties,
exactly.
Right. And if you want watchers in the polling place representing your candidacy, you can have that, correct?
Yes, and from both sides, which is important to point out.
Remember all the poll watchers we saw that were in Florida during the Florida recount, looking over the shoulders as those ballots were being recounted and recounted?
Right. Now, I do think it's a little bit interesting watching a lot of people on the left wringing their hands about how corrosive this is, what Trump is saying, all the rigged nonsense, and it is nonsense. This is undermining people's faith in the system. Well, Al Gore was just at a Hillary Clinton rally this past week where people were chanting that he won Florida, which is a lie. He did not. John Kerry whispered for years to reporters that he was convinced Ohio was stolen from him in 2004. There are people who do this to sort of set a narrative after the fact. What's interesting here is Trump is trying to set the narrative before the fact, because I think he knows, based on actual real polling, he's losing.
And, the other thing that could be unintended consequence of this, he says over and over again, the system is rigged. The subject is, I don't stand a chance. That could suppress his own vote. If you think the vote is rigged, why should you bother to go out?
Well, another point that's worth making is that it seems that the number of votes cast in a state, and certainly in a nation, is so vast that it would be extremely difficult to rig enough of the votes to change the outcome, even in a given state. But when you're talking about local elections, where you have a much smaller volume of votes, it seems to me that you can make a pretty good argument that local races could be rigged.
Yeah, and another point that these secretaries of state have made is that most of the vote counting is not online. In other words, these are not systems that are all hooked up to the internet that would be subject to somebody hacking in and changing the results all over the country.
And that's why I think, in the scheme of this, it's a better argument. If you're going to choose a rigged argument, going with the media is the better. Blame the press. Now, of course, the problem with that argument is Trump's vulnerabilities and unfavorable ratings are roughly where they were back during the primaries, where Trump was being really feted with great, glowing, nonstop media coverage. He's losing this all on his own, but blaming the media, which is clearly biased against Trump, by the way. That's a better point to try to make.
What's interesting about that is that the argument is made that the media has hurt Trump. And I think in a strange way, from the beginning, it's hurt Trump. Because the wall-to-wall coverage that he got live for his speeches and news conferences and so on, event after event after event, going on for months on end, did propel him to the Republican nomination. But it also left him, by the time that nomination was secured, with these extraordinarily high unfavorable ratings with
in the
people.
60s.
In the unfavorable ratings in the 60s, where they remain today.
But that was a byproduct not just of the wall-to-wall coverage he got, but also because he subscribes to a theory that all publicity is good publicity.
Right.
If he can dominate, that's good. Dominating
Well, they
the
won him the
media
nomination.
equals vote. Now, that worked in the primaries, but it was a completely different universe when he got into the general election.
Right.
So he still dominated, but he was not growing his vote.
And he seems to put perhaps a ceiling on it. Guy Morrow, we'll see in a little while.